All right, thank you. I think we have some presentations from the mayor.
The fun part of the job. Councilwoman Pamela Reed, could you join me, please? I have a couple presentations this evening. They were recommended by Councilmember Pamela Reed. Pam, would you like to say a few words before the formal presentation?
Yes, so right now I stand before you as the president of the Mount Airy Main Street Association, and we put on multiple events throughout the year, whether small or large. And we rely on volunteers to plan and execute them. In June, we partnered with 4 County Lions Club to host Hometown Chili Cook-Off and Custom Car Show. This event was a challenge because we didn't know what to expect kind of going into it, but I wanted to recognize 2 people from that day that really showed true leadership skills and kind of stepped up and made my life much easier. And those people are Lynn Galletti from the Mount Airy Main Street Association and Brian Fandel from 4 County Lions Club. I don't think Lynn made it. She's coming, but
She's coming. Well, she's walking in right now. So let's
one more thing. While we appreciate everyone who volunteers, and I wish I could thank them all individually, these 2 people, at the end of the day, I really said, wow, I couldn't have gotten through the day without them, which is why I asked Mayor Pat to present them with a certificate of appreciation.
That's great. And anyone that runs with Lynn knows she runs on Lynn time. And actually, this wasn't that bad. That was only 2 or 3 minutes. So Lynn Galletti and Brian Fandel, did I say it pronounced? Fandel, could I ask you all to please join us at the podium? Either side works. Chivalry is not dead in Mount Airy. I love it. Lynn, I'm going to ask you to hold this. Brian, I am going, if we could hold the photos, I'm going to read from yours because they're the same.
I'm sorry, could you say?
I'm going to read from yours because they're the same.
Oh, okay.
And you owe me $5.
Yes.
On behalf of the citizens of Mount Airy, the Mount Airy Town Council, and myself, I'm very proud to present this certificate of outstanding community service from the town of Mount Airy to Brian Fandel and Lynn Galletti. The town of Mount Airy hereby presents this certificate of outstanding community service to Brian Fandel and Lynn Galletti for your volunteering with the 4 County Lions Club. It is volunteers like you that make Mount Airy what it is today. The passion and devotion that you feel for the town of Mount Airy is evident in your volunteerism. Thank you for making this a better community. Sir?
Smile again.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
That falls under other signs.
we've rearranged the furniture again. So, next on the agenda is the approval of the council meeting minutes from June, and I'll move that we approve. Is there a second? Patty seconds, and any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, that's passed, and it's time for Chief Reitz report.
Good evening, everybody. It's Chief Reitz with the Mount Airy Police Department. Go over the monthly report from the police. This month we had 2 meetings and trainings, one of which was PFC Brooks attended the DUI Institute of Maryland, which is a 40-hour program focused on UI detection and related matters. And I also participated in the Carroll County Strategic Traffic Safety Planning Summit that was held at the Public Safety Center in Westminster. On the community policing outreach, the Maryland Police Training and Standards Commission sent us our community policing program annual report review. We received a great rating on that, and we were identified as a model for other departments to follow. I've attached the entire report to the chief's report also for you to view. We're also announcing our Crime Watch rollout. Police Department will soon be rolling out its Crime Watch network deployment. Crime Watch is a secure police intelligence network that provides a law enforcement-centric platform to manage the dissemination of sensitive criminal justice information to the community and media outlets. The Crime Watch platform is uniquely designed to organize information such as arrest incidents, wanted persons, and departmental news. Crime Watch Network has a strong presence in Pennsylvania, with Maryland now serving as their focal point rollout. The Mount Airy Police Department is the first law enforcement agency to deploy the Crime Watch portal in Maryland. I've also attached a sheet that has a little bit more information with the chief's report as well, if you have any additional questions. We attended the Mount Airy Lions Club Carnival. We had personnel that responded to several incidents that included basically disorderly subjects, some traffic complaints, some suspicious persons, and medical emergencies, et cetera. CSO Betts also had a information booth manned over there, and we presented information on crime prevention and fraud. We also were present at the Hometown Chili Cook-Off. There was no significant incidents reported there. For upcoming events, we have National Night Out scheduled for August 6th at the Mount Airy Volunteer Fire Company Carnival Grounds from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. It's our second annual National Night Out. Looking at our crime stats and traffic enforcement this month, we had 9 Part 1 offenses, which included 1 burglary and 8 incidents of theft. We had 14 Part 2 incidents, which include 2 assaults, 1 disorderly conduct, 2 driving under the influence, 7 frauds, 1 vandalism, and 1 sex offense. For calls for service, we handled 732 calls. Traffic enforcement, we had 156 traffic stops, issued 92 citations, 128 warnings, 23 equipment repair orders, again, 2 DUI arrests, and we had 3 other traffic arrests. As far as criminal enforcement, we made non-criminal apprehensions. We issued 1 civil citation and took 60 investigative reports. A couple of highlights for the month was 1 burglary at the Carnival grounds, which occurred the evening before the carnival started on the 1st. And we had a theft from vehicle at the Park and Ride on the 19th. And then we had a piece of heavy construction equipment that was taken on June 26th from the 100 block of North Main Street. As far as overdoses for the month, we did have 2 heroin opioid-related overdoses. There was 1 case where Narcan was administered by a private citizen. And in addition, I did have some questions about some activity over at Nottingham in the neighborhood regarding some drug issues. I wanted to address that before the council tonight. And this is one of those areas where, I was asked how we would go about looking into things over there. And the number one thing was this is where the K-9 program becomes very vital. It's a huge tool for us to use in narcotics detection, and it raises the bar on reasonable articulable suspicion, which basically is where the officers have certain clues that might heighten their suspicion, but doesn't give them grounds to conduct a search. However, once the K-9 is called, and based upon RAS, you can call the K-9 to conduct a free air scan. That's where you develop your probable cause. When you have that dog come in there and it alerts to positive for drugs, that automatically gives you probable cause for searches. So that was the number one thing that we could really look at as far as when we want to look at narcotics enforcement. Secondly, also we'll have CSO Betts contact the HOA over there to talk to them about instituting a neighborhood watch. I think he's already had some preliminary contact with some people, but I'll make sure he reaches out to them and we can talk about that and get that on the books and have them work with them to do that. And also we can have some additional focus patrols in the area. Other than that, I need to know a little bit more information from the community as well as what exactly is going on over there, so I know how to deploy the officers and get them to work with the community. So, and if anybody has any other questions.
No, Chief, the HOA is going to send a list
Okay.
of concerns. Thank you for addressing it and making those very valid points.
Okay. That'd be the chief's report.
All right. Anybody else got any questions? All right, time for the fireman's report. Bruce?
Good evening. For the month of June, we had rescue calls, 96 in Carroll, 37 in Frederick, 6 in Howard, for a total of 139 calls. Fire calls, we had 16 in Carroll, 9 in Frederick, 4 in Howard, for a total of 29 calls, which resulted in 112 calls for service in Carroll, 46 in Frederick, 10 in Howard, a total of 168 calls for service during the past month. I'm sure everyone's aware of the installation of the new cluster mailboxes on Main Street, and I want to bring to the council's attention, and also specifically to the homeowners, that with the institution of those mailboxes, individual mailboxes will be removed, and most of those mailboxes have the house number on them. And so you will no longer be able to simply drive up the street and glance over at a mailbox to find a house number. You'll have to look at the actual residence and try to see that. Now, we do have GPS mapping and we have a mapping service, but for mutual aid companies coming in or whatever, it may be a little tricky to find. And I kind of did a little looking the other day when I realized this issue, and tried to look at some of the house numbers. Some you could see, some were behind shrubbery, some were so small, some I just couldn't see. So we need to make the residents that are going to be in areas that are going to get these cluster mailboxes, and I think we'll see more of them even in some of the developments eventually, that they need to make sure that their house numbers are clearly visible, and not only for emergency services, but even for deliveries and things of that nature. So that sort of I guess an unintended consequence of that process is the fact that we'll lose the ability to easily see the house numbers based on the mailboxes.
Wow, good point.
Any questions? At the end of the month, we have a little activity coming up for a week, our carnival. And we also have the parade on Thursday, starting at 6:30. This year, we are going to have registration if you want to be in the parade online. You can go to the fire company's website and get that information. But the last day to sign up to be in the parade is Friday, July 19th. And on Saturday, we will be having a beer garden, something we're going to try out. And so we'll see how that goes. And we will not have fireworks. So get your fireworks fixed Wednesday, because we're not having fireworks this year at the carnival. We're experimenting with that because it is very expensive and always being weather dependent and whatnot. And last year we, took a pretty big hit on the carnival, so we're trying to make up for that. So that'll be that. But hopefully we'll see everybody out and everybody have a good time.
Yeah. Question, as far as that mailbox issue, are you guys going to launch anything on social media? Should the town?
Yes, I'll mention
do
it tomorrow
something?
night. We have our company meeting, and I'll
right.
mention it there, and we can put something out. We periodically do put that type of a thing out, but it's just something hopefully the newspapers will make it aware and town will push for it, but it is an important issue as
We're going to certainly share it and try to get the word out.
Yeah, as we go around and work with them as far as doing the actual swap over, we can work with them.
Yeah, tell them
remind
about that when they
about
get their key or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that would be helpful.
We'll look at other options if there's any other ways to
Okay,
help.
yeah,
I don't know if there is.
yeah, all right.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, good. Sounds like we're already working on that, so thanks, Bernie. Okay, next is community concern citizen comments. If you would like to make a comment to the council, feel free to take a seat up there and let us hear what you got to say. Anyone? Yeah, please. Just identify yourself, name, address, please.
Hi there, I'm John Cherry.
President of MIMS.
That's true. I'm former president of the Mount Airy Main Street Association. I'm at 902 North Main Street. I just want to take a couple minutes to talk about the letter that we received recently from you, Mr. Mayor, about the sidewalk improvement project on North Main Street. I don't know where that is in the process. I understand and I recognize that the work's being, it's ongoing on South Main Street. And so this letter for North Main Street, is this something, is the town council aware of the project? Just, I'm not.
We know it's going on, right? Yeah.
North Main Street, there was a letter put out to,
North Main Street's a different animal. You do not have existing sidewalks, so it's
Exactly,
a
right.
totally different animal, and it processes, approached totally differently, and I'll defer to Barney on how that is, because at one point, we were gonna extend sidewalks up there, and there was actually some bit of pushback. We were gonna take it from the optometrist over to Townview, I think it's Townview, the name of those apartments right there, and we decided to hold off on that process, so please state your concern, and Barney can weigh in.
okay, good. So there's, letters have been issued to the residents, hand-delivered, that lay out the proposed plan. And so I'm here just to express concern about the plan. I live within the range of where they're extending it. It's 7 houses where they were planning to extend the sidewalks, from roughly where the firehouse is up to an existing property at 906 North Main Street that already has the sidewalk. Mr. Quinn stopped by and we talked. I expressed my concerns to him. We did some measurements based off the existing sidewalk that's in the area. It's set back, I mean, it's a good 11 to 15 feet from the white line on the road. And my house and a lot of houses on Main Street have fairly small front yards, and that's just not gonna work. We can't have a sidewalk put through the middle of our yards. And it's that far back from the road, I understand, because there's a grassy buffer there for snow plowing and all. So, so I just want to go on the record, state that the design as it stands and the implementation of sidewalks in that area isn't going to be acceptable to me or to a number of my neighbors up there. I was told that it's part of a long-term project to maybe extend sidewalks further up Main Street. I'm happy to hear that it sounds like maybe it's been shelved for now. If it hasn't, I think it should be until everyone on North Main Street is on board with this. Otherwise, it's kind of silly to proceed piecemeal. I'm not going to approve it at my property until I know that it's a viable project from end to end, you know, for the full duration. Otherwise, there's no reason to proceed. We're not going to gain much by having 300 extra feet of sidewalk on North Main Street. So I'll keep an eye on it. I know my neighbors will also, to see if this is something that has legs or doesn't. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, this is exactly the forum that this is for, so the town council can hear firsthand from the citizens, so thank you for coming forward, expressing your concerns. Barney, do you have anything to add to that? Because certainly the town council is going to take a look at the citizens and their input, and that's why you're reaching out to them for that input.
Yeah, originally, we were just gonna go to Watersville. The fire company already has a sidewalk, so does 906. 906 already has a sidewalk when they built their house.
906 is the property that's set back,
Right.
Set further back, yes.
the sidewalk to nowhere.
The sidewalk that starts and ends nowhere,
A
correct.
few of those, yeah.
So the idea was, let's just throw it out there, see if those 7 houses would be interested in having a sidewalk. We've made it clear to everybody, we've gone door to door, especially with those residents, that we're not forcing anything on anybody. In fact, that whole project's been this way. We haven't forced it on South Main Street or anybody. There seems to be a lot of acceptance towards it, but there's some that are concerned with certain things. And I understand John's point. He does have a short front yard, and so does at least one other house, if not 2 others. And so I'm not sure that that's going to happen. We've already had a few concerned with that, so I don't know that we're going to move forward with that stretch.
Okay. And that said, just so you know, and your point is very valid, there is at least one resident up there that is very much pro for that, asked for that, and asked that we do something. That being said, she and he may very well be in the minority, and we need to do what's best for the community. But there's at least one that I know has approached me personally and said, I'd like to be able to take strollers down that road. They can't now. But that being said, your concern is very valid.
Good, thanks.
Yep.
Thank you for coming.
I have a question, Barney, and you may know this too, Pat. I mean, we just passed the budget. I don't recall anything in the budget for North Main Street as far as sidewalks go.
Yeah, we have money in the budget for sidewalks.
For
The same we had for the past.
Okay.
I don't know how it's written exactly.
Yeah.
But that was the plan, was to do the same as north as we currently are doing on south.
Okay. All right, thanks. So, anyone else have a comment? All right. Moving on, we're down to ordinances and resolutions. We have a lot of things that are being reintroduced or introduced tonight. So first on the agenda is annexation resolution number 42, the Dorsey Town, for reintroduction and report on the status. I'll move that we reintroduce it, and I need a second. All right, Patty seconds. And before we move on, I would tell you that in the, since there's a handful of you out there who live in that area, we did meet with the staff. The staff met with the attorneys and developer and talked over a few things. And the hope and the expectation is that in August, we will actually be voting on the Dorsey Town annexation resolution. We need to make sure that we get documents out in a timely fashion so that they have time to review them. And if they don't have an adequate amount of time to review them, then probably going to have to push it off again. So, but that's where we're at on Dorsey Town. Okay. All right. Second, we have ordinance 2019-5 budget amendment for the East-West Park Playground equipment, and that's for introduction. Would somebody like to move that in? Carl?
Oh. I wasn't sure is,
Since it's Parks and Rec.
but just explain what the budget is, the resolution is?
No, just move to introduce the ordinance.
Okay, I move to introduce ordinance. 2019-5, budget amendment for East-West Park Playground equipment.
All right, and someone else want a second, or I can if you don't? Okay, Pam seconds. Okay, so we'll be talking about, or actually putting that up for adoption next month. Okay, ordinance 2019-10 is a budget amendment for Main Street sidewalk project for, that's for introduction as well. I'll move to introduce. Is there a second on that one? All right, Carl seconds. So that'll be up for next month as well. Ordinance 2019-7 to amend Part 2 of the Code General Legislation, alcoholic beverages, public intoxication, possession and consumption, and that's for introduction. Anybody else want to move that in, or?
Pam, do you want to move that in? Because we're sticking it on you.
So, where's Tom? Tom, can you explain to me what the actual difference is?
So I was asked whether when we have recurring events every year, like Celebrate Mount Airy, for instance. Oktoberfest, where the town council's previously approved by resolution as required by the code, the event for open containers, alcohol consumption, where designated. Can there be a provision that would allow that to be administratively approved either by the mayor or his designee, somebody on staff, in other words, rather than each year when the council's already approved it, having it come up to council every year? So the ordinance as drafted would do that. Of course, it also says that if the town council were to determine with respect to any event to withdraw its support for a particular event, there's a provision where the town council can step in and do that. So it's sort of an administrative means of or a short circuit, so that it doesn't always have to come here
It's,
every year.
if I could add, it's taking out some of the red tape, and if there was ever a new event, any new events still come to the town council to make sure the town council bless them, approves them. But if it's recurring, they've already blessed it once or twice. Just let it roll underneath administrative. Streamline the process.
So I will make a motion to introduce ordinance number 2019-7.
Okay, and I'll second that. All right, and now we're down to resolution 2019-7, resolution to authorize a consumption. You good? Authorize the consumption and possession in open containers of alcoholic beverages on public property. This one's for the Celebrate Mount Airy event, and this will be up for adoption. I'll, unless you want to move it in, Pam, I'll make a motion to adopt it. Okay.
In discussion, this is a clear example of Now you have to introduce it, you have to wait another 30 days. There's been times where Gina's called me and she's to say, we need to get this on, we don't have time to get it on, we have a week deadline before the meeting. Again, it's just streamlining the process.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Unanimous. All right, no unfinished business on the agenda, but we do have new business. There's a street closing request, Fieldbrook Lane, on July 4th, 2019, from 4 to 10 p.m. for the 4th of July block party. And I'll make a motion that we approve that. And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Carl seconds. Any discussion on that?
I was just wondering where Fieldbrook Lane is.
Okay.
It's Sterling Glen.
Oh, it's still,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, then we have a street closing request for Celebrate Mount Airy, and that's August 24th? Yeah. And I'll move that in for adoption. Is there a second on that? Patty seconds. Any discussion?
Do we get paperwork, like, to know, figure out roads and stuff like that? I didn't get anything on that one.
Let's take a look.
It was on the table outside. It wasn't in the packets.
That first. I think it's out on the
It
table.
was on the table today, so it wasn't in the packets.
Okay.
Thank you.
I picked one up.
Did you see this one? You got it.
Main Street to Prospect Road to Paradise.
All right, I'm good, thanks.
You good with that? Okay. Any?
I'll say, or that was discussion, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Unanimous. All right, street closing request for the Mount Airy Volunteer Fire Company Parade. I'll move that in as well. Is there a second for that? Jason seconds. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Next is a discussion, open burning and exceptions. And I'll go ahead and start the discussion real quick. The biggest thing is this kind of came to our attention in the middle of June. And it concerns fires that you would have in a fire pit in your backyard, ornamental fires, something to keep you warm and gather around, things along that nation. And the code enforcer was called in one particular issue, so he went over and basically asked the person to put the fire out, I believe is the way that it went. So as a result of that, we started talking amongst ourselves as to how a burn ban would go in town, how we follow the county rules, that sort of thing. So it's something that wasn't really addressed that well in the code. So one thought pattern was to revise have an ordinance to take it into account and correct the manner. The other thought process was maybe we just need to talk to the code enforcer and figure out where the line in the sand is. I've lived there 19 years and we'd never had that problem before. And I think, some of y'all lived there longer than me and never seen that problem. So the question before the council, before we move forward with introducing an ordinance on it was, to find out if indeed there was a feeling toward that by the council, or if we just wanted the mayor to talk to the code enforcer and sort it out. So how do you guys feel about it? Well,
I'll be quite honest, because I have a fire pit in my yard. before building that fire pit, though, I obviously checked the ordinances, and I think it's up to interpretation for what you consider to be an open fire. And I realize that, you know, we have country and land, and there's a difference between an ornamental fire and when farmers throw a whole bunch of logs and brush and everything that they've cleared from their property and just start a fire, which fire restrictions then come into play. So I took it as I'm not building a brush fire in my yard type deal, and that a fire pit would be okay, was my interpretation of it. And if we just need to add clarification that fire pits within the distance of whatever it may be, 20 or 30 yards from all houses or whatever, following the county guidelines, I would be okay with adding that in there just for clarification, so that it's not up to then our code enforcer to provide interpretation to when they go to somewhere and the fire's too big and they just say it's an ornamental fire. I'd rather just be clear on that. So that's my opinion, that I think it, just to provide clarity, that we take the time and provide that in there.
All right. Yeah. Anybody else?
Go ahead, Pat. I'll let you
Well,
go.
actually, I'm going to defer to Carl. Carl provided some great information from the state. Tom went into great detail to talk about dangerous fires, fires that can pose a threat, noxious fumes going from property to other. And I agree with Councilman Jason that it does need to be clarified, because the officers that went out in that case were following what was written, and it is too open to interpretation. So I would strongly urge the council to reinforce it. Another thing I would ask is that a copy of this be sent to our own fire department, Bruce back there, that they have an opportunity to weigh in on our proposed language to make sure it is suitable and safe, and that the council does move forward to update the language to assist the code enforcement.
Now, I tend to agree with the mayor and Councilman Poirier that it does need to be clarified a little bit. It's very ambiguous, to say the least, of our current code on open burning. So I believe it should be clarified to give the code enforcer, some more, not authority, but more understanding of what would and would not be allowed for it. And as we look towards the future of adding more homes on smaller lots, and I can see this being a never-ending issue. And so I would like to, nip it in the bud, so to speak, before it becomes a problem.
Okay.
So, Mayor Pat, is this something that in the interim to give us time to rewrite it or define it better, for you to, I guess, speak with the code enforcer and kind of clarify, so that, because we're in the season right now, we don't want to prohibit people from having.
Actually, yes, with the lawyer's assistance, I did a post on the town website. I actually remember when this ordinance came about back in 2006, and I know specifically from the mayor at that time that the intent was never to ban ornamental burning, roasting marshmallows, and the like that Councilman Jason had referenced. So yes, if you look on the town website, we were going to hold off enforcement, and there's some language in there that says if fumes are going to another person's property, blah, 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 we're going to act accordingly until the town council has an opportunity to strengthen the language officially.
Okay.
I'd like to also say that I know in Frederick County that fires in the fire pits are exempt from the ban on burning that's currently taken effect. So I can't speak for Carroll County, but I know that there was an article in the Frederick News Post about a month ago. And so I was surprised when the resident came up and told us her plight on a weekend. And I think it's important that we also make that ordinance stronger and clearer, because the code enforcer works during the week, and so many times these fires are going on a Friday night or a Saturday night. So I don't want to always, put the police in the middle of it. So if we have a clear ordinance, then if a call comes in, you all will have an ordinance that you have some, teeth to.
All right, well, it sounds to me like we'll go the ordinance route, and it sounds like the mayor's already drawing a line in the sand somewhat until we get an ordinance drafted. So we'll go that direction on that issue and hopefully have something to introduce in August. So, all right. Carl, are you willing to, I mean, you've already done some footwork on it. Are you willing to kind of follow it up, or?
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
yeah, unless, Tom and I have discussed, he's got, there's a draft kind of in the works already.
Okay,
So I've seen it, I've made, not comments, but I made my edits to it, and I'll be more than happy to follow up on it.
okay, all right, I look forward to seeing something in August. Next on the agenda is setting a date for the September Town Council meeting to avoid Labor Day, so it looks like September 9th would be the second Monday. So I was going to make a motion that we move the September Town Council meeting to September 9th. How's that work for everyone? All right.
Should be okay, yeah.
Okay, can I get a second on that? All right, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Starting to feel like I'm putting people to sleep out there. So, rolling along here, so.
And the easy, yeah,
Just saving all their enthusiasm
Yeah.
for the fireworks and
Yeah,
it's-
I never realized how exciting Peter was until I took the job. So, all right, we're down to the mayor and council reports.
Okay.
And, go ahead, Pat.
Thank you. My formal report will be filed later. Just a couple of things I want to note. One, I want to thank the town council, even our town attorney that took time out of their schedule, their vacation, to attend the Maryland Municipal League conference this year. These conferences are always beneficial to the town. I always ask the council members to try to find some nuggets, something that brings value back to the town. So when we're spending taxpayers' money for these tuitions, that they understand that they are getting value for their money. Some of the things that have came out over the years is, one, reinforcing, finding out that a lot of the procedures we have in place are actually correct, so it really reinforces. Another one may seem minor, but for years we would tear up, cut down trees and jack up concrete and relay sidewalks. At one of these conferences, and this wasn't even at a class, this was from walking the floor, we learned that you can actually grind down uneven sidewalks. You save a tree, you save about 2/3 of the cost, and it's just fantastic. Some of the nuggets that I learned this year is we had the opportunity to meet with representatives of Washington Gas, Pam, Carl Munder and I, and we were discussing about moving this gas line forward. So you have an opportunity to go face-to-face with state officials and state secretaries at these meetings. That's in addition to the classes, that's in addition to walking the floors and seeing the new products. So we actually have an action plan for what the Planning Commission is recommending as their #1 item. In addition to that, I did attend a class on Smart City. I know you all were in the class and caught the excitement at
Yes.
the end. There's a lot of benefits to becoming a smart city and some of the things that you can do to save money in your town. And also, effective meetings have become an issue here where Larry's doing a remarkable job. You call it boring, I call it efficient, running. And actually, the class changes over the years. And one of the things was to give citizens more chance for input is actually holding 2 meetings, one for input and one for a business meeting. Not sure that's something that'll work for us, but it does give us some guidance on how to run effective meetings, because a lot of us are laymen's, and it really does help to have that. Let me see. I'd also like to make another note that the Water Commission, I put a post on the town website. We are looking for some commission members. A lot of people want to join these commissions, and it's not often that we have openings. We do have openings on the Water Commission. It makes some major decisions impacting our town and our unique water supply. So if you are interested, please, I put my name in there. It can be me, it can be Colleen, or anybody at Town Hall. And if you're interested in serving, I'm probably going to ask that you come out and attend the meeting. And Larry, I know you're the liaison to that, so hopefully people will come out to that. I do not believe I have any reappointments this month. Is that correct? That concludes my mayor's report. The formal report will be posted.
All right, and beautification, Parks and Rec, Councilman Munder.
All right, well, first off, I'd like to start off with a couple just general comments here. Hopefully I'm not stealing any of Pam's thunder here. Okay, good. I just don't want her to mad at me for anything.
Throw in July 3rd, because I forgot.
July 3rd, well, don't worry, it's there. The fireworks are here. First off, I would like to give a shout out or a mention to several new businesses in town that I've noticed. Maybe I'll get this name right, maybe I won't. The Mathnaseum, was that pronounced right? Mathnaseum in the Safeway Shopping Center. The Rehab to Perform just opened up in the Twin Ridge Business Park. It's a rehab center. My wife and I and daughter had breakfast with them by accident at the Kiwanis Club meeting in the pancake breakfast in the spring. And I enjoyed talking with them to find out more why they're coming to Mount Airy, and they decided to do it. And I'm glad they did. And to mention the grand reopening of the Old Town Restaurant on Main Street with the new owners. So that's the comment number one. Comment number two is, first off, is we would like to wish everyone a happy and safe 4th of July. And please come out to the fireworks on Thursday, July 3rd at the Mount Airy Carnival grounds. Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday, sorry. I'm thinking July 4th already, okay. Wednesday, July 3rd, at the Mount Airy Carnival grounds. Thank you for the correction. But if you do come, please bring a donation for the Mount Airy Net, which recently put out on their website that they were looking for some summertime donations, and they will be having a stand as you enter the fireworks display to bring some donations. They are looking for the following: pancake mix, pancake syrup, oatmeal, cake mix, canned fruit, mixed vegetables, canned carrots, canned potatoes, and tea and coffee. So please help this out. Please help this wonderful community out by donating to the Mount Airy Net for the 4th of July fireworks. Also, they mentioned on their website that several businesses that are sponsors of the fireworks also have donation boxes at their locations. All right, now on to the beautification of the parks report here. On the Beautification Commission, the members did the usual tour of the town parks and recs and the signs, and weeded and mulched as needed. I also want to say that due to the popularity of pickleball, the town has received requests for benches to be located at the pickleball courts. The Beautification Commission, I believe, has requisitioned and approved and purchased the benches, so you'll be seeing benches installed at the pickleball courts on Prospect Avenue within the next couple of weeks. Also, I would like to mention that Commission member Dwight Molinick suggested he would like to install a flower bed around the Watkins Park sign, similar to what he did at the Welcome to Mount Airy sign on Route 27. The commission agreed that this was a great idea, and he and other commission members installed the flower bed at the sign. It looks wonderful. And the new Mount Airy sign has been installed on South Main Street. If anyone has seen it, it looks wonderful. The sign replaces that old dilapidated plywood sign where people used to hang banners from. The sign will be used to hang banners advertising town-sponsored events. And the next meeting for the Beautification Commission will be 7/16 at 7 p.m. in Town Hall. Now, the recreational parks. First off, I would like to mention something I forgot to mention during my June report here, that Girl Scout Abigail Parker came before the board in May to provide an update on her Gold Award project, which is similar to the Eagle Scout Award. Her project will be in the installation of solar-powered path lights along the portion of rails and trails that run between the rail yard and Watkins Park. The lights are intended to be used during the nighttime events so people can safely walk down the path. And she hopes to have the project completed by the August 10th camp night, and will offer to walk along the trail as a way to unveil the project. So this would work wonderful for camp night and to celebrate Mount Airy Festival in August. And during the June meeting, I would like to give a shout out to Brownie Troop 4012, because they conducted a presentation for the need of trash cans and pet waste stations along rails and trails. Mayor Pat and I, before we came to the June meeting, gave a little talk to them before they walked the trail to pick up trash. And what they found out was that during the simple walk of an hour, they picked up 312 pieces of trash. Wow. They even had someone I'm not sure intentionally, unintentionally, they were seen by them conducting the trail cleanup and threw a piece of trash on the trail, either before or after them to do that. So as a reminder, don't litter on the trails, anywhere in town. It makes the town look bad, and we would like to live in a clean and safe community. So they came before the commission or the board to request additional trash cans and pet waste stations along rails or trails, and we're looking into that for them. We're talking to Public Works to see if that's an issue with them to do that. The second presentation before Recs and Parks was the 4-County Softball League came before the board to request permission for them to have the ability to rejuvenate the old softball field at Watkins Park. The one up by the dog park that just has the old backside side fences and the benches, because they are in need of a permanent home to use to build the program. 4 years ago, I'm understanding, they had a large program. They've lost some girls to other area rec councils and programs because we don't have a permanent place for them. So they were coming before the board to request permission for them to rejuvenate it, because past year they practiced at other area fields and did not work out. It was bad fields, bad locations, inappropriate areas for kids to be practicing at. So they wanted to rejuvenate it, to bring it, make a permanent home, so they can really build the softball league here. And now I'm getting better at this. And to go on some of the things that have happened that the Parks Board or the Public Works did. I believe in June, last week in June, the pickleball court was resurfaced. Currently is in the process, or was. This was done to fix the playing surface. It had sunk in some areas. The fence, it was beneath the fence, was above the surface. So once this is done, it will be restriped for three courts instead of one. So once that's all done, the mountain area will have 3 pickleball courts on a nice new playing surface. The Rails to Trails grant is still being processed, as far as I know, so we're still in line to get the grant. As someone has noticed, the Caboose Pavilion is complete. As far as I know, it's complete and done.
Yep.
So it's good to go. It looks wonderful.
Yep.
The camp night is coming up. The annual camp night on August 10th is coming up. The entertainment will be Slim Harrison, the movie, and an illusionist walking the crowd and other entertainment. That begins, I believe, at 4, the camp night.
I think at 3 o'clock you can start
3?
setting up
Okay.
your tent, is the way we did it in the past.
Okay.
What time does rain start?
Rain starts as soon as the movie starts.
True. Also, the last meeting is that some people came or sent a letter regarding speeding along the portion of the road that in Watkins Park that goes back to St. Andrew's Church. I'm not sure, we weren't sure if it's who's doing it, but please be careful when driving around the town parks on the streets, and no matter where you go, speed kills. So just take it slow. 5 minutes or 5 seconds isn't going to make a difference on that. And just to mention some upcoming events. First off, the Sunday concerts at Wildwood Park are still going on till the 28th of this month. They go from 2 to 4. So please come out and enjoy some nice concert and some nice music at Wildwood Park. Some other upcoming events is July 20th, the Hot Summer Days and Nights, which is a man-sponsored event. August 4th is the Ambassadors 5K at Watkins Park. As previously mentioned, August 10th is the camp night. August 24th is Celebrate Mount Airy, which is 125 years of Mount Airy celebrations. And August 31st is the Galatians 5K run. And the next meeting will be on July 18th in Town Hall at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. That's it.
Thanks, Carl.
You're welcome.
Camp night's a lot of fun, so August 10th, make sure you get that one done. They're all a bunch of good activities. Economic Development Planning Commission, Council Member Reed.
So our last meeting was May 22nd. We did not meet in June because we had the Tour of Possibilities on June 11th, and then the next meeting would have conflicted with MML. The tour on June 11th was a huge success, much larger than we had anticipated. Again, we boarded a bus at 8 a.m. and took realtors, financial investors, possible business owners around Mount Airy and showcased all of our empty commercial space. So we were pretty pleased with how that turned out. I know that Donna Marie, the chair of EDC, has a couple of project ideas that she's bringing to the next meeting on July 31st. So hopefully at the August meeting, I can give you an update, but I want her to be able to present those ideas to EDC before I present them to the council. So again, our next meeting is July 31st. The Planning Commission met on June 17th. At that meeting, some final touches were put onto the sign ordinance, and that will be introduced at the August meeting. And as Mayor Pat stated, when we were at MML, we had the opportunity to meet with BGE and some other representatives to talk about the gas line on Main Street. I will introduce and talk about the action plan that we came up with at the next EDC and planning meeting, because it was a priority for planning on that list. And our next meeting is July 29th. And that's it.
All right. Sanitation and Recycling and Sustainable Commission, Councilmember Poirier.
Thank you. We did not have a meeting last month. We rescheduled it to this month, so we will meet July 17th for Recycling and Sanitation at 7 p.m. and July 24th for Sustainable Meeting, 7 p.m., both at Town Hall.
Thank you. Streets and Roads, Councilmember Washaba.
Yes, we did not have a meeting last month. Ours is every other month. Normally, we would be having a meeting tomorrow, but due to the holiday, we didn't have a quorum, so we have rescheduled it for next Tuesday, 7 o'clock here at Town Hall. That would be July 9th. And a couple things. We had a lot of issues at the South Main Extension whenever there would be any type of like a Linganore winery event. They were finding that a lot of people were going down the road and thinking that they were going to be able to get on 70, and that isn't the case. As we all know, you have to go out to 27 to get on 70. So this time when we had the chili cook-off, I want to thank the Mount Airy Police Department, and I want to thank the Public Works Department because they worked in parallel together, and they made sure that this time we did not have those issues. And it must have been very successful because I checked with the people the night before. They were very happy to see that there were some things that were happening on Friday night. And then between the hours, I believe, of 3 o'clock and 7, we actually closed that extension off. So the only people that could get in and out were the people that actually live in those houses back there. And I did not get one complaint. So it was very successful. So I want to thank you for that. Like I said, next Tuesday we'll be having our meeting. Also, I want to thank the secretary who's on the Streets and Roads Department, Miss Lynn, who got an award tonight. She's an outstanding member on our commission, and she will be meeting with the police tomorrow, and she has reviewed the traffic studies for the last 4 years, and then she'll be getting updates, so we'll be able to provide a spreadsheet on those traffic studies to see, how effective they were and what will be going forward, if there's any issues we need to address going forward. So thank you for doing that, Ms. Lynn. And that's it for me.
All right. Down to Water and Sewer Commission. I wasn't able to change my schedule last month after getting appointed, so I call on Dick Swanson. Thank you.
We met on June 5th, and just the highlights are, if you drive between the library and Safeway Shopping Center, you're going to see that the stormwater management pond is complete. The fences are up, and they did a great job over there. I just want to give you some numbers on that. That project cost $1,300,000. Because we are part of the WRCC with Carroll County and the other 8 municipalities, the only thing we pay is our annual dues. And for the 5-year permit period, those dues were $360,000. So we have a $1,300,000 stormwater management bond for $360,000. That permit will be coming up in the next year or so. And if you have any suggestions about changes, recommendations, let me know, because we're going to be discussing that at WRCC and going through the process of updating that. And as soon as MDE releases their draft stormwater permit for the next 5 years. I also want to point out that we've had an ongoing problem with storm water coming into the sewer system and going over the wastewater treatment plant. Some good news is that in the month of June, we only had 800,000 gallons of total water go into the wastewater treatment plant, which is only about 200,000 more than what we pumped out of our wells. That's a dramatic reduction, and that has to do with the fact that we, for the first month, actually had close to normal amount of rain in June after 17 months straight of more than average rain. So that's the good news, but we still have to be diligent about taking care of the high-risk places for water entering the stormwater management system. The sewer system. We will not meet on July 3rd so that people may attend the fireworks. And our next meeting is the first Wednesday in August. I would encourage people to come on down and see what we're all about. As Mayor Pat mentioned, we do have a few openings, so we'd love to have a little additional input. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dick. I appreciate it. All right, on a couple of the things that going on the side. First of all, biggest takeaway from MML for me, not that there wasn't a lot of stuff that I learned down there, but we sat in with a town hall with Senator Ben Cardin while we were down there and talked to him about Rails to Trails again, which was had stagnated for about maybe 2 or 3 months. At that point, the next morning, they were back in touch with us. So we got some pretty good action down there. The museum, always go back into the museum to learn a little bit more and see what they've done. They're in the process now of making replica flour sacks from the old Mount Airy mill. You can get a T-shirt as well that has a Mount Airy logo on the back. Mount Airy roller, I think it is. Wayne probably knows that. Roller Mills, yeah. So great T-shirts down there, great gift shop, a lot going on. Pavilion over the caboose turned out great. A lot of that money was paid by donations from probably everybody in here who went into the caboose and stuck a couple bucks in the mailbox in there, as well as a $25,000 grant from the state of Maryland that came through the community fund that I know Doc O'Brien and my wife went down to Annapolis and lobbied for. So they had a nice day down there about 1.5 years ago, and finally it's come to fruition. So it's nice to have it protected. Anybody who walks up to it and looks at the side that's been in the sun can see that the sun side is beat up a little bit, so we'll have to go in and touch up the paint and everything. The shaded side looks great. So getting that pavilion over the caboose was very important to keep our big investment going way down the road. So anyway, so I appreciate the Community Foundation of Carroll County and the town council for working together to get that project through.
Mayor, you can also, if I'm correct, add lighting and security cameras to help.
Yeah, I think Barney and the design setup basically plumbed it for electrical to go up and add some underlighting and do some unique things to it. So it's a terrific achievement after 3 years, 2 years, something like that.
It's a great design, and if we could give Larry a round of applause for the great design.
Thanks.
Just like a train stop.
Unnecessary, but I appreciate it, so,
It's scary when
I was a little worried.
Scary when it first went
When
up.
it was going up, I was like, oh, Lord, what have we created?
out great.
So, okay, we're to the town administrator report, but I don't think we have a town administrator right now.
She says, have fun.
She's has a U-Haul and is heading to South Carolina or something. So, okay, town attorney report, Tom?
So at the last meeting, Water and Sewer, Mr. Swanson had pointed out a discrepancy between one section of our code and another regarding penalties for violation of the sewer chapter. I did look into that. The discrepancy is actually in the appendix to our code, not the code itself, so we do not need an ordinance to change that. We need only to notify the code service to change that, and while we're doing that, I think town staff or I will look through to make sure there aren't other discrepancies that need to be changed and notified about. So over the last month, worked a little bit on the CSX corridor for rails to trails. Sat in on the meeting for the Dorsey Town annexation. Did attend the last Planning Commission meeting on the signs ordinance, most notably on the signs ordinance. Worked a little bit on the Brittany Manor transition from the Doc Full basically to the new developer, although Debbie Clinton did the yeoman's work on that, getting all of the documents important to the town recorded. And that transaction has completed. Worked on a few code enforcement matters, open burning most notably. Did attend an open space meeting with one of the developers for downtown. Worked on a little bit on a text amendment that is proposed and has been applied for and will be before you for introduction in August. Worked on the draft open burning ordinance, as well as the ordinance that was introduced tonight regarding the administrative approval of recurring events for open container and alcohol consumption.
Okay, all right, thank you. Code enforcement report, is there anything on that? Is that something, do we need?
I did submit Betsy's report for your review.
Okay.
I don't think we've ever had anybody really stand up and give a report for it, have we?
Yeah, is it included in the police report? Is that where it's at?
It was a separate document, but it's, you should have it there for you.
I think jumps out at you, something you have a specific concern, certainly reach out to Mr. Betts.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, if any questions, feel free to let me know and I'll get with him, or you could, email him as well or give him a shout.
Yeah, there may be issues that you've heard about with constituents contacting you that you need some more information on.
Okay.
Definitely delve deeper if you like.
Okay, let's see, that concludes almost everything. We are going to have a closed meeting tonight, so I would move that we go into the closed meeting following this meeting for the subject of rails to trails and the CSX property. And with that, I move for adjourning the meeting.
You need to take a roll call vote with individual votes from each council member to close.
For
under
the
open
closed
meeting
meeting.
act.
Okay, so for the closed meeting, I move that we go into closed meeting following the open meeting. Carl? Patty?
Aye.
Jason? Aye. And Pam? Aye. And I'm an aye as well. And now I'll move that we adjourn the open meeting. Second on that. Jason and Pam? Pam's an aye. Jason? Okay, I'm an aye. Patty?
Aye.
And Carl?
Aye.
Okay, and with that, we conclude the meeting. Thank you.